Discover the heartwarming birthday card that inspired a lonely CEO to change his life forever. Mark Harrington stood at the window of his sleek glass skyscraper, staring out at the sprawling Chicago skyline. Inside, he was surrounded by luxury designer furniture, high-tech gadgets, and a bank account filled to the brim. But as he surveyed the bustling streets below, a gnawing emptiness settled in his chest. In the days leading up to his 50th birthday, the accolades and praise from colleagues felt hollow, shallow whispers of admiration that barely scratched the surface of his loneliness. Coming from humble beginnings, Mark had climbed the corporate ladder with relentless ambition. Yet, every promotion and dollar earned seemed to widen the chasm that separated him from genuine connection. He often longed for the days of childhood, the laughter shared with friends like Sarah, his heartwarming confidant from his small Midwest hometown, whose life's mission revolved around community service. With an empty heart, he pushed aside a stack of birthday cards filled with insincere platitudes, until a simple one caught his eye. It was adorned with cheerful butterflies, clearly sent with thoughtfulness. As he opened the card, Sarah's handwritten message leaped off the page: "Happy birthday, Mark. I hope this year brings you a chance to find joy in connection. Remember, family and compassion are what truly fill our hearts." Tears blurred his vision with every word, awakening a flood of nostalgia. He could almost hear her laugh, the warmth of their shared childhood alive within him. That moment stung, the regret of choices made danced in his mind. Could it be that the pursuit of success had sealed him in a cage of his own making? Chills raced down his spine as the realization hit him. Here he was, a man who had everything by society's standards, feeling utterly empty, while a life filled with laughter and love slipped away with the passage of time. Something pivotal turned within him. He had to return home, confront his past, and find the Mark who once understood the value of community and connection. Arriving back in his hometown, he was met with an unsettling contrast. Where he once saw vibrancy and laughter, now stood shuttered businesses and faces worn with hardship. The local bakery, once bursting with sweet aromas, was on the brink of closure. Veterans who had once stood proud were now struggling to reclaim their place in a world that seemed to have forgotten them. Each encounter scraped at the scabs of his conscience, challenging his notions of success and filling him with determination to act. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Mark engaged with the community, the warmth he encountered was unparalleled. People rallied around one another, creating bonds that transcended his experience in corporate boardrooms. Hope flickered within him for the first time in years. But just as the spark ignited, trouble loomed. A looming financial crisis threatened his plans to revitalize the town, casting a shadow over the budding connections he had begun to form with his former neighbors. Could he, with his vast resources, find a way to make a difference, not just for the town but for himself? Standing in the heart of his beloved hometown, he pondered the stark question: could acts of kindness truly weigh heavier than the success he had accumulated? As the festival he envisioned began to take shape, Mark felt a swell of emotion that promised to change everything. Would he be courageous enough to follow through, or would he let his fears extinguish the hope he had finally discovered? Mark stood in the middle of the town square, heart pounding with anticipation. The festival he envisioned was just a few weeks away, but the challenges ahead seemed enormous. As he looked around, he could feel the hesitant eyes of the townsfolk on him, questioning if he could really help, or if he was just another outsider with empty promises. That thought nagged at him. He took a deep breath, determined to face it head-on. I can't just throw money at this problem, he thought. I need to inspire the community to believe in itself again. With renewed determination, he rolled up his sleeves and got to work. The first step was to gather volunteers, and he knew just where to start: the local coffee shop, once the heartbeat of the town, now faded and quiet. He walked inside, instantly enveloped in the familiar scent of freshly brewed coffee. The barista, a young woman named Mia, looked up with surprise. "Mark Harrington? You're back." "I am," he said, a smile forming on his face. "I need your help. This town deserves to shine again, and I want to organize a festival that brings everyone together." Mia's eyes lit up, a spark of hope igniting. "You want to help? I think we could use it. But how can you get people to rally?" Mark leaned on the counter, his heart racing. He realized it wasn't about him. It was about bringing the community together. "Let us create a planning committee. We need everyone's ideas, their voices. Let's reach out to businesses, artists, and musicians. I want them all involved." Mia nodded, her excitement bubbling over. "I'll spread the word." As word began to spread, faces that had once been sorrowful began to emerge, drawn by the glimmer of hope Mark unknowingly reignited. Neighbors who hadn't spoken in years started reconnecting, their voices weaving together in conversation. Mark watched as his once shuttered hometown began to hum with life, and for the first time in years, he felt warmth in the pit of his stomach. Days turned into weeks, and the festival started to take shape. Banners were hung, booths were set up, and as the sun shone, laughter echoed through the streets. Mark felt alive, each smile he encountered fueled his purpose. The question he once wrestled with began to clear. Yet, amidst the blossoming excitement came unsettling news. The local Veterans Community Center, a vital lifeline for many, was closing due to lack of funds. The fear washed over him like a cold wave, threatening to extinguish the flicker of hope he had ignited. First things first, he had to act. "Okay, this is just another challenge," he thought, as he gathered a group of volunteers at the coffee shop again. "We need more ideas, we need to fund this place. We can't let the community center close. Not now." Mia, ever the encourager, chimed in. "What if we had a charity auction at the festival? We can get local artists and businesses to donate items. This could work." Others joined in, eager and hungry to build that bridge of support. Plans took form, and as they brainstormed together, Mark felt his heart swell. Every idea shared, every enthusiastic suggestion lifted a weight off his shoulders. But as the festival day loomed closer, doubts crept in again. Would the locals truly come together? Would he really be able to save the Veterans Center? Would this community truly accept him as one of their own? With those questions haunting him, Mark entered the community center one afternoon, determined to rally support. The walls were adorned with memories of bravery, reflecting the stories of those who fought for their country. He felt a certain weight in his chest as he approached a group of veterans. "Can I have just a few moments of your time?" The old soldier sitting at the front, weathered and wise, met his gaze. "You've got something to say, son?" Mark nodded, his voice steadying. "I'm here to help. We're kickstarting a community festival, and I want to ensure this center stays open. I believe in our shared strength. Let us do this together." The room filled with murmurs, some filled with skepticism, others with intrigue. The soldier studied him intently. Sometimes, talk doesn't mean much without action. That single statement hung in the air, heavy with challenge and possibility. Would Mark's words turn into actions? Or would that foundation he hoped to build come crashing down once more? As he left the center, the weight of his task settled on his shoulders. Mark could feel the enormity of it all. He wasn't just trying to save a building, he was trying to restore hope. Would the upcoming festival truly unite them, or would it expose the divides that still lingered beneath the surface? Every step he took felt heavier, the stakes higher, and he couldn't shake the feeling that everything hung in the balance. That bittersweet tension twisted inside him as he realized, the real struggle was just beginning. Mark spent the next few days in a whirlwind of planning, meetings, and late nights. Each morning, he woke up with a sense of purpose, but it was often overshadowed by a gnawing anxiety. He put his heart into every task, tirelessly reaching out to local businesses, inviting musicians, and rallying volunteers. The festival was supposed to be a celebration, yet the impending closure of the Veterans Community Center loomed heavily on his mind, casting a shadow over every bright moment. One particularly quiet evening, Mark found himself back in the coffee shop, sipping on a cup of lukewarm brew. Mia was tidying up behind the counter, clearly exhausted from their hectic schedule. "You okay?" she asked, concern etched across her face. "I think it's all just starting to weigh on me," he admitted, letting out a low sigh. "There's so much riding on this festival, and I can't shake the feeling that I might fail." Mia leaned against the counter, her voice soothing. "You're doing more than anyone else. You're bringing the town back together. Look at how engaged everyone is. They're talking, collaborating, that's what matters." Mark appreciated her perspective. He glanced around the coffee shop, remembering its glory days. It felt good to see the tables occupied again, the laughter spilling from the corners like sunshine. But what happened next struck him deeply. A group of regulars entered, their voices lively as they shared jokes with each other. Suddenly, an older woman, Mrs. Henderson, approached Mark. "I heard about the festival, dear," she said, her eyes twinkling. "And about the community center. We can't let it close, can we?" Her warm smile sparked something within him. "No, we can't. But we need everyone's help. If we can sell enough tickets to the charity auction." She shook her head gently, cutting him off. "No need to sell tickets. I'll donate my famous apple pie every week until it stays open. And I'll get my knitting group to pitch in too." Inspired, Mark began to jot down ideas. As Mrs. Henderson continued to chat, others in the shop began to listen in. One by one, they started to chime in, each contributing something unique: homemade treats, crafts, and even a promise from a local band to perform for free. Encouragement washed over Mark like a warm breeze. "It's happening," he thought, excitement building within him. As discussions flowed, he could feel hope shifting the atmosphere. Individual efforts were morphing into a collective promise. That night, Mark was restless with anticipation, unable to sleep. His mind raced through what had transpired that day. It wasn't just about the festival anymore, it was about a community that had forgotten how to believe in itself. They were willing to stitch together their talents and time, like a patchwork quilt, to support the Veterans Center. Yet, shadows still lingered. Despite their enthusiasm, would this collective effort be enough? The question nagged at him, filling him with unease. Days rolled by as the festival day approached, and each passing hour felt more intense than the last. The festival was shaping up to be a remarkable day, but the fear still loomed that it could all fall apart. What if not enough attended? What if people didn't buy into the vision? As he checked off items on his never-ending list, he received a text from Mia: "Let's meet at the community center. We need to finalize details for the auction." Mark grabbed his jacket and stepped out into the brisk evening air, determination coursing through him. He needed to see it all come together, and he felt an urgency building inside him. Arriving at the community center, he noticed a flicker of lights from within, a symbol of resilience. The room was already busy with veterans setting up displays and volunteers organizing the auction items that were rolling in. It was heartwarming to see so many coming together to restore something they all valued deeply. But as Mark caught sight of the old soldier from earlier, standing in the corner with an intense look, he felt that familiar knot of doubt tighten in his gut. What do I say to them? He wondered. Let us do this together. Could he honestly deliver that? Would they rally behind him when it truly mattered? With one deep breath, he stepped into the chaos, ready to give it all he had. The moment he opened his mouth to speak, the room quieted, and every eye turned toward him. I believe we can do this together, he started, his heart racing. We won't just save the community center, we'll save each other in the process. As anticipation hung in the air, Mark felt the weight of the challenge before him. Would his voice resonate? Would the crowd come together to bridge the gap between past struggles and future hope? The answer felt just out of reach, as threads of tension intertwined with hope. All he could do was wait for their response. The silence stretched, pulling at Mark's nerves. He scanned the faces in the room, some hopeful, others wary. Just then, the old soldier, Mr. Thompson, stepped forward, his weathered brow furrowed, a sense of urgency in his voice. "Mark, we've seen our community go through rough patches before. But this is about more than just a festival. It's about our history, our connections." Mark nodded, feeling the weight of the man's words. He swallowed hard, aware of the truth in them. It wasn't just about saving a building, it was about reigniting a spirit that had dimmed over time. "Exactly," Mark said, his voice a little stronger now. "We all have stories to share, things we've fought for, and love we've built right here. Let us make this festival a tribute to that. A celebration of our lives and the sacrifices made for this community." Applause erupted in the room. He could see the spark begin to catch fire in their eyes. Encouraged, Mark continued, "Let us not just gather for a day. Let us create a movement. If we come together and pour ourselves into this, we can not only keep the center open but also inspire others to believe again." The chatter picked up, enthusiasm buzzing around him. Mia spoke up, jumping in with her ideas. "What if we host stories from veterans? An open mic where they share their experiences. It could be central to the festival." Mark felt the energy shoot through him. "That's brilliant. We'll have a stage for anyone who wants to perform, from community members to local artists. A real showcase of talent." As the room filled with energy, voices grew louder, bouncing off the walls like happy laughter. They began brainstorming events, a pie-eating contest, art displays from local schools, games for kids, and food trucks with local cuisine. Mark was breathing easier now, each idea ignited another until the list sprawled across different pages. "We need to reach every corner of this town: flyers, social media, word of mouth. Let's make this festival massive," he exclaimed, heart pounding with excitement. People began dividing tasks, creating committees and delegating responsibilities, each face lighting up with purpose. Just when Mark thought the night couldn't get any better, Mrs. Henderson raised her hand again. "What are we doing without a headline act? We need music to pull people in." Mark's heart soared. "Right. A local band, I know just the one." As plans solidified, Mark felt the weight that had burdened him begin to lift. Intangible threads pulled them together. Fear gave way to hope, doubts transformed into determination. Then, as laughter and chatter filled the space, Mark caught a glimpse of the old soldier again, standing still and quiet in the corner. Something about his expression seemed to shift the energy back a notch. "Mr. Thompson," Mark called, "what do you think?" The older man paused, almost hesitant, before stepping forward again. "All of this is incredible, Mark. But remember, not everyone will show up. There are still those who feel disconnected from this community. They need extra encouragement." Mark nodded thoughtfully, a wave of realization crashing over him. Mr. Thompson was right. Not everyone had the same hope they had in that moment. "How do we reach them?" someone asked, sensing the slight downturn in the atmosphere. Mark's mind raced. "We'll invite them directly. We can set up personal calls or home visits for those who can't make it out. We'll even provide transportation for the elderly or isolated folks in our community." That seemed to resonate. A murmur of agreement swept through the room, feeling more like a promise than mere acknowledgement. They weren't just going to have a festival, they were going to work together to restore bonds that had diminished over time. As enthusiasm returned, Mark's heart felt lighter. He took a moment to close his eyes and appreciate the vibrant energy surging around him. The night was wearing on, but he felt illuminated by the possibilities before them. Just as the meeting began to wind down, Mia leaned in closer, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "I can't believe how much we've done in one night. But there's still something we should address." Mark glanced at her, sensing the urgency in her voice. "What's on your mind?" She hesitated for a brief moment, then leaned closer, her voice dropping to barely a whisper. "Have you thought about what happens if the festival isn't enough?" A chill washed over him. He hadn't let himself go there. Yet, as Mia's words hung palpably in the air, he realized the stakes were higher than he'd anticipated. Maybe we need a backup plan," he stammered, feeling that knot of anxiety return, but this time, strengthened by the hope around him. A murmur of concern rippled through the group. Could the festival alone really save them all? The question loomed, heavier now than before, as a new urgency began to pulse through the crowd. Would the celebration truly be enough to save what mattered most? The room buzzed with a mix of excitement and uncertainty. People shifted in their seats, the anticipation of brainstorming mingling with the dread of potential failure. Mark took a deep breath, a knot tightening in his stomach. They had built up so much hope together, yet Mia's question loomed large, bold, and undeniable. "Okay, let's think this through," Mark started, trying to redirect the energy. "We're not just creating a festival, we're starting a conversation. This isn't merely about one day, it's about the weeks leading up to it. We can keep the momentum going." Mrs. Henderson raised her hand again. "What if we organized smaller gatherings before the festival? Like potlucks or community cleanups? Get people involved leading up to the event." "Yes," Lev shouted, clearly enthusiastic. "It creates a rhythm. Everyone comes together, works toward a common goal, and then the festival is the big crescendo. Just like a good song." Mia grinned, and so did Mark. "That's exactly the spirit we need. We could even invite those who don't usually participate. A cook-off, a neighborhood cleanup. Everyone loves food and fun. Let's make it inclusive." The chatter picked up again, with voices chiming in, amplifying enthusiasm. Ideas spiraled out of control: a community mural, a sports day for the kids, a chance for local entrepreneurs to showcase their wares. With each suggestion, Mark could feel the room transforming. The specter of failure receded, replaced by laughter and a sense of unity. But as the laughter echoed, Mark's gaze remained fixed on Mr. Thompson. The weight of the soldier's words settled heavily on his shoulders. What if their efforts weren't enough? Doubt tugged at him, but he pushed it away. "All right, so with these smaller events, we can build connection," Mark said, forcing a smile. "But we need a unified message. We should create a narrative. Something that tells why this festival matters. Like a theme." Mia exclaimed, her eyes brightening. "What about rebuilding our roots or Together We Rise? Or Community Strong," suggested Leviticus. The excitement was palpable, and Mark felt his heart swell. Hope grew like weeds in a garden, wild and unstoppable. Just then, the lights flickered. The previous energy dissolved into a hush as Mark glanced around, sensing everyone's unease. "Just a little storm," he assured them, but inside, the nagging thought resurfaced. Would this festival truly reconnect everyone? Would the gatherings be enough? "Let's find a venue for the smaller events," Mark steered, briskly dismissing his worries. "We can gather at the center, which will keep it at the heart of the community, where it belongs." "Good idea." Mrs. Henderson agreed, while others nodded, the desire to contribute igniting their spirits once again. "I'll reach out to some local groups too, see if we can partner with them," Mark said, a newfound determination in his voice, trying to ground himself in action. As the evening continued, and voices rose and fell in a warm buzz of camaraderie, Mark couldn't shake the feeling that laying the groundwork for connections was just the beginning. He saw Mr. Thompson again, standing resolutely with a gaze that seemed to bear the weight of the world. Mr. Thompson, Mark decided to approach him, curiosity bubbling to the surface. Could you share your story with us? I think it might help us all remember what we're fighting for. The room quieted. It would be a risk, letting vulnerability seep into their plans, but sometimes the hardest stories carried the most significant truths. A spark of hope flickered across Mr. Thompson's face, melting some of the hard edges that marked his features. With a deep breath, the old soldier began, "Many years ago, I fought for my country. But my true battle has always been right here at home." You see, as he spoke, Mark felt the room shift once again. The festival was more than an event, it was about honoring the threads of lives woven together. It was about belonging. Mark's heart raced with anticipation. What wisdom would Mr. Thompson share? Could this festival be the rekindling of something even deeper than they had imagined? Just then, a loud crash echoed from the kitchen, followed by a yelp. Laughter erupted, breaking the tension. And in that moment, Mark realized they were all wrapped in a journey that had only just begun. But beyond the laughter, he could still hear that question lingering in the air. It was clear, the future was uncertain, and the stakes were higher than they ever anticipated. He watched the faces around him. Hope flickered through each of them, but how long could that light last without something substantial to sustain it? Would the bonds they forged last, or would the storm outside dismantle the fragile connections they were trying to weave? As Mark faced the crowd again, a resolve edged into his voice. Let's build something everlasting together. Because now, more than ever, we need each other. But in the back of his mind, as the laughter echoed through the hall, the thought persisted, what lay ahead could change everything. Mr. Thompson paused, his voice steady yet tinged with a raw vulnerability. When I returned home, it wasn't the cheers I had expected. People had moved on. I was alone, longing for a connection that felt shattered. He looked around the room, making eye contact with several faces, a depth of understanding passing between them. I've fought battles in my life, but the hardest has been right here, in this community. The silence that followed was thick with emotion. Mark felt the air shift, the weight of Mr. Thompson's words hung like a delicate thread, and everyone was hanging on it. Each person in this room has a part of that story, Mr. Thompson continued. You have the power to heal, to bring back a spirit that has been bruised. But it starts with you, each of you reaching out to others, sharing your own battles. It's what makes us human. Mark's heart raced. He could envision the festival now, not just as an event, but as a tapestry of stories. Everyone had struggles. Even the laughter spilled from the kitchen carried echoes of pain and resilience. This gathering could ignite something powerful, fuel a movement of hope. As Mr. Thompson wrapped up, he cast his gaze across the room, perhaps searching for something or someone. It was as if he dared them to take ownership of their community, to paint something beautiful where darkness had lingered too long. Thank you, Mr. Thompson, Mark said, his voice barely above a whisper, yet it felt like he was speaking for all of them. The old soldier nodded and stepped back, leaving an atmosphere electric with possibility. The crowd slowly erupted into conversation, an undercurrent of determination surging through each shared idea. What had once felt like mounting chaos now had direction, purpose. Mark was swept along in it. They discussed goals and visions, each suggestion sharper than the last. The vision of the festival solidified, no longer just an idea but a commitment, a promise to be fulfilled. Then the lights flickered again, a reminder of the storm outside. The laughter faded slightly as shadows danced around the walls. If things get tough, Mark said, raising his voice to carry over the murmurs, we must remember why we're doing this. We're here to connect, to lift each other up. A wave of cheers surged through the room, building in volume like a crescendo. But as the excitement crackled in the air, Mark's mind grappled with unease. What if they faltered? What if their resolve couldn't withstand outside challenges? What if the storms, both literal and metaphorical, proved too much to bear? Let us make this more than a festival, Mia called out, her enthusiasm infectious. Let us create a legacy. Exactly. Lev jumped in. Let us put together a community board. Everyone can write their stories and share their needs. We create a map of support right here. Mark's heart soared. The concept was simple yet transformational. A living document that captured not just the highs but the lows, too. It could serve as a foundation for everyone to lean on, and help those who felt adrift find their way back to shore. As the conversation deepened, Mark could see glimmers of each person's struggle and strength reflected in their ideas. They were no longer just neighbors, they were collaborators, each weaving their threads into a collective journey. Yet, amid the energy, the storm outside roared louder. Suddenly, the power flickered once more and went out, plunging them into near darkness. Gasps filled the room before the emergency lights kicked in, casting a soft glow. "Don't panic," Mark called, a calmness he did not entirely feel spilling from his lips. "Let us use this time. We can brainstorm in smaller groups." He learned from their earlier power surge connectedness mattered, no matter the surrounding chaos. As they split into smaller clusters, Mark entrusted his thoughts to a young woman sitting beside him, someone new to the town. "What about we also collect those stories from everyone who can't join us? What if we hosted local video calls?" Her eyes widened. That could unite those in distant neighborhoods. Especially those who feel unseen. A grin crept onto Mark's face. They were already building bridges. But as the discussions unfolded around him, a nagging doubt danced in the back of his mind. Was it enough? Could they pave a path strong enough to withstand whatever storms awaited? As laughter echoed again, mingling with the eerie thunder outside, Mark was left wondering if the real storm was just beginning and if they would truly be ready for it. Could one festival change the tide, or were they simply adorning a sinking ship? The soft glow of emergency lights flickered against the walls, casting shadows that danced to the rhythm of murmurs and laughter. Mark glanced around, realizing he was in a sanctuary of voices that echoed together, each sharing a story, a hope, a dream. The storm continued to rage outside, but within these four walls, something beautiful was taking shape. "Can you guys hear me?" Mark called out as he waded through groups of neighbors, trying to maintain the pulse of their gathering. The crackle of conversation filled the air, and for once, the storm had created a unique paradox, a chance to come together even as nature seemed intent on tearing apart. In one cluster, Mia was animatedly explaining her vision for the festival. "We can include art installations that display our community's history. To show everyone how far we've come, and where we're heading." Her excitement was magnetic, and a few folks nodded vigorously, energizing the space around her. Mark moved closer, feeling the excitement. "And if we could maybe host an outdoor story time for kids? It would foster connections from an early age." Several faces lit up at the mention, children alive in their memories. Each idea sparked something, encouraging those who had once felt invisible to take center stage. With shared laughter and determination, they were painting a brighter picture. He turned to the young woman beside him again. "You know, I think your idea about video calls could bring in those who feel distant, too. Let us find a way to link those stories with our festival, like a live video wall." The idea exploded into inspiration, igniting the air anew. "That's brilliant!" she exclaimed, her voice bubbling with enthusiasm. "It can showcase not just our stories but the bonds that connect us, even when we're miles apart." As conversations grew, Mark noticed glimpses of their past struggles etched on their faces, the frayed edges of their histories blending into a fabric of resilience. It resonated deeply. The festival was more than just a celebration, it was an awakening, a chance to redefine what it meant to belong. Then, a sudden clap of thunder shook the ground outside, the loud crack slicing through the ambience, making everyone pause. In that heartbeat of stillness, Mark witnessed fear flicker across some faces, doubt creeping back in. Would they dare to continue building this dream if nature insisted on tearing them apart? "Remember Mr. Thompson's words," he said, regaining his footing. This is what we wanted: laughter and connection over nourishing fear. Let us fuel this passion. The group exploded with energy again, a sea of voices cascading into action. Mark's heart swelled with pride. They weren't just dreaming. They were living the challenge, rising to meet it, and igniting hope in one another. In another corner, Lev was rallying some young people around planning a parade. How cool would it be to have a float that represents all of us? He suggested. The idea left sparks trailing in the air. They could create something bold, something vast, to make their message loud and clear. But even as the plans surged forward, Mark felt a familiar pang of anxiety coil in his chest. Questions swirled. Would this work? Could they truly bridge gaps and lessen loneliness? What if their collective dream faltered before it even took flight? He turned away for a moment, his heart pounding, but he felt a gentle tap on his shoulder. The young woman smiled at him, her eyes warm. We've all got scars, Mark. Remember the reason we're doing this. That matters more than anything. We're not alone anymore. Her simple words rested like a balm on his soul, whispering a truth he needed to hear. Encouraged by her presence, he took a deep breath and went back into the fray. Yet, as the night rolled on, the storm outside intensified. Rain lashed against the windows, drowning out their laughter and swelling the tension in the air. Would their hope survive when the elements were so unforgiving? Each clap of thunder felt like a challenge, a test of their bond. While inside, they braved the storm. Together, laughter battling against uncertainty. But with every lightning strike, a question loomed larger: were they truly ready for whatever lay ahead? As Mark steadied himself, an unexpected sound cut through the din: overlapping gasps and a frantic call for attention. Someone shouted, "The roof! We might have a leak." Instinctively, dread washed over him. Would their moments of unity begin to unravel from the very pressure they sought to resist? As urgency thrummed in the air, Mark wondered, in this storm's fury, was this the moment that could either solidify their strength or shatter it into pieces? Mark's heart sank at the sound of panic in the room. The cozy atmosphere that had wrapped around them like a warm blanket was suddenly frayed at the edges. He glanced up at the ceiling, held his breath, and listened intently. Raindrops began to patter madly, drowning out the chatter. A few people exchanged worried glances, while others craned their necks to near the ceiling, half expecting a waterfall to burst into the gathering. "What do we do?" someone asked, a tremble in their voice. Mark took a step forward, powered by a surge of determination. "Let us check it out. If there's a leak, we can fix it together." Gathering his courage, he turned toward the door, motioning for anyone who was willing to join him. Surprisingly, hands shot up. They were ready to face the challenge, braving the unknown like warriors preparing for battle. Perhaps the storm outside was no match for the storm of hearts and minds that had just united. As he and a group pushed into the small hallway that led to the storage room, light flickered ominously. Each step felt heavier, yet each faced challenge came with the thrill of purpose. The last light bulb barely hung on, casting distorted shadows of their figures against the walls. Mark felt a strange mix of fear and anger. Why should they be battling not only the storm but also the challenge within their haven? But just as the group reached the storage room door, another jolt of thunder rattled the air. A few people shrieked, instinctively moving closer to Mark for reassurance. Their eyes filled with uncertainty, but Mark couldn't let that deflate the energy they'd just built. "Let us do this together," he shouted, enthusiasm ringing clear. "When we stand side by side, nothing can break us." With that, they pushed open the storage room door. The small space was dark, cluttered with old boxes and remnants of past gatherings. Rainwater pooled at the far end, gently dripping through a crack in the ceiling. Mia was the first to spot a bucket tucked away in the corner. "Grab that!" she exclaimed, concern sharpening her features. Lev darted forward. "We can at least catch the water." A new spirit ignited as people began to bubble with laughter, each crack up a defiance against the storm. Someone fetched a second bucket, and before Mark knew it, they were a well-oiled machine, moving together, their cooperation reflecting the belief they had in one another. After several minutes, they managed to contain most of the water. Mark paused, his heart swelling as he stepped back to take in the scene. Everyone looked relieved and united, smiles breaking across faces that only minutes ago had harbored worry. This could be the best festival ever. Lev laughed, tossing a soaked rag over his shoulder. We're becoming one with the chaos outside. Mark couldn't help but feel a sense of community wrapped around him even tighter than before. They were creating magic in a moment of uncertainty. Just then, a flash of lightning illuminated the room, and in that brief moment, Mark caught the young woman's gaze again. She was still there, active and purposeful, her eyes sparkling with tenacity. "See? We can take on any storm together," she said with a gleam in her voice, and for the first time, Mark believed that they could confront whatever came next. But as the group was busy celebrating their small victory, the reliable sound of raindrops changed. It turned into a loud crash, echoing through the hallway. Mark's heart raced as he exchanged glances with others. "Is that coming from?" one neighbor trailed off, the fear creeping back into the atmosphere as thunder rumbled most ominously overhead. "What if the storm knocks down a tree?" Mark's chest tightened. If the storm was pushing them down, could their dreams of the festival hold strong? As the crack of lightning pierced through their laughter, he knew one thing for certain: tonight would be a test, not just of the roof over their heads but of the very bonds that tied them together. With his heart hammering, he took a step toward the door. Let's check it out. But deep down, he couldn't shake the feeling what awaited them outside could change everything. Would this storm bring them together, or would it tear them apart? Mark stood at the threshold, gripping the door handle tightly as the wild winds howled outside, rattling the hinges. His stomach knotted with anxiety, but a glance back at the group lent him strength. Each face radiated determination. They had come this far, what was they afraid of? With a final breath, he swung the door open, flinging it wide, as if to challenge the storm itself. A gust of wind swept through, tousling their hair and sending chills down their spines. The scene outside was chaotic. Leaves were swirling like confetti, and branches danced dangerously in the gusts. The storm unleashed its fury, but there was no time to hesitate. They had to act. "Everyone, stay close." Mark yelled over the noise, his voice steady despite the chaos. He moved forward, and his small band followed, hearts pounding in unison. Together, they stepped into a world that seemed on the brink of upheaval, and each gust whispered a challenge. As they ventured further into the storm's embrace, they reached a large oak tree that loomed over them. It bore the scars of age, but had stood strong through countless storms. Branches cracked ominously, and Mark's heart raced as he glanced up. "No tree falls on my watch," he thought, urgency flooding through him. The offer of help felt communal, magnified in the face of adversity. "We'll need to brace it," Mia shouted, pointing to some fallen branches nearby. "Right. You and Lev get those bigger ones," Mark directed, feeling their united resolve. "The rest of us can start clearing the smaller debris." They split into makeshift teams, racing against the storm's fury. As they worked, Mark caught brief glimpses of laughter amidst the frenzy, like sunlight breaking through clouds. Their laughter became a buoy against the storm's roaring rage. He saw the young woman again, with rain-soaked hair sticking to her forehead, orchestrating a nearby task with spirited enthusiasm. Her confidence inspired him further. Just then, thunder cracked like a whip overhead, startling everyone into silence for a mere moment. Mark felt the collective tension tighten the air. "Focus. We can do this," he encouraged, springing back into action. This was a moment that demanded resilience, and they were rising to the occasion. With each branch they wrestled away, they laughed a bit harder, their bond deepening through shared challenge. Every gust felt less like an enemy and more like a reminder of their strength together. A few moments later, they heard another loud crack. Mark froze, his worst fear realized. He turned, and there it was, a heavy branch, dislodged and crashing down toward the group. Time slowed, his heart raced as he shouted, "Look out!" He dashed to intercept, adrenaline coursing as he reached out, hoping to push the nearest person away in time. The moment stretched as if the world held its breath. Would his effort be enough? Then crackle. Something hit with a powerful thud against the ground just behind where they had stood seconds before. Suddenly, there was a mixture of shock and stifled gasps. "Mark!" The young woman shrieked, terror etched on her face. Breathless, Mark turned to see everyone safe, but shaken. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice wavering. Mark nodded, his heart pounding harder than before. He lost himself in her gaze. Could it be that this storm had a purpose? Would their resolve to face it reveal more than just survival, maybe even something deeper? Before he could reply, another crack reverberated through the air. Something felt more foreboding now. "Look!" someone yelled, pointing. Amidst the upheaval, a splintering sound echoed. Was something falling nearby? Mark's heart sank. What awaited them was not just debris or rain. A new terror loomed in the wind and darkness as they braced for not just the storm's fury, but the unexpected revelations that unraveled in its wake. What would happen next, as they stood on the precipice of uncertainty together? The air crackled with tension as Mark gazed into the swirling tempest. His heart raced, pounding louder than the thunder's booming drums above. It was a fierce dance on the edge of uncertainty, nature's raw power clashing against the fragile harmony they had built just moments before. "On your toes, everyone!" he yelled into the roar, rallying the group together, shielding them with sheer willpower. They were a makeshift team molded in the heat of this storm, and it was time to act as one. Each heartbeat echoed their determination, igniting a fierce spirit that rose stronger than the winds that raged around them. With the instinct of survival kicking in, the group rallied together, forming a human barrier against the elements. Mark turned to see Lev and Mia directing others to clear debris. "Let us move. We can't let anything distract us, we're in this together," he shouted, feeling the warmth of camaraderie spread through him like a wildfire. Suddenly, another crack rang through the air, loud and threatening. Mark felt it resonate deep in his bones. He turned just in time to catch sight of the massive oak tree beginning to shudder violently, roots straining against the chaos. For a fleeting second, he felt a rush of dread, realizing that they could lose everything if that tree fell. "Quick! We need to brace ourselves against it," he commanded. The atmosphere shifted as fear was bottled and replaced with action. They bunched together, grasping any remnants they could find, branches, ropes, anything sturdy to push against the old oak and prevent it from toppling. "This is our moment, people. We can do this," Mark exclaimed, feeling the pull of solidarity. As they worked feverishly, each second felt like an eternity. With hands straining, they yanked at the branches, sweat streaming down their faces, mingling with the rain. Laughter burst out intermittently between grunts and shouts, an undercurrent of joy within the chaos. They were a tapestry woven with resilience, truly embodying what they stood for. "Mark!" Mia shouted, her eyes wide as she pointed toward the top of the tree. "That limb won't hold much longer." Mark's gut sank, dread creeping back in. "We've got to hold it. Keep pushing." He locked eyes with the young woman who had been a source of light since they started this endeavor. In that moment, he saw her strength, togetherness shining brightly. The tree quaked again as another crash echoed, and in synchrony with the thundering storm, a large branch broke free, plummeting to the ground mere feet away from them. Gasps echoed through the group as they stumbled back momentarily, shaken but unyielding. "That could hit us," Lev shouted, catching his breath. But Mark was unfazed. "Right. But it didn't. We're still standing. His resolve deepened. All together. On three. He rallied the group. The sense of community, of purpose, hung in the air like thick fog, each person feeling empowered, and together, they counted down. 1, 2, 3. With all their might, they heaved against the tree, feeling its weight shift slightly under their push. It was like a slow-motion moment of triumph against nature's wrath. I can't believe it. Someone shouted, astonishment lighting up in their eyes. We're doing it. Bolstered by that spark of hope, Mark yelled, this is it. We are strong. And then it came an acknowledgement, a collective sigh of belief, sparked through the group. With every ounce of courage, the energy shifted, they were winning. Against all odds, they found strength in each other that they had long been missing: love, support, laughter surging like the tides. Moments passed, and while they faced the storm and conquered it, the clouds began to part, revealing droplets of sunlight breaking free. Mark couldn't help but smile. It was like a miracle after all the chaos. The rain began to let up, dimming, and the rumble of thunder faded into the distance, transforming into whispers of hope. Mark felt a weight lift from his chest, a sense of renewal washing over him. In that moment, surrounded by the faces of friends and neighbors, he realized what they had built together. It was not just a festival or a one-time event, it was a newfound bond, a community woven closer through shared struggles and victories. I can't believe we did that. You guys are amazing. Mia exclaimed, laughter flooding joyfully into the air. Mark felt his heart swell as he beamed at them. No, we're incredible. He corrected her, realizing how true that was. We stood against the storm, and we came out stronger than ever. Applause erupted all around, smiles blossoming like flowers through cracked earth. They slowly gathered around him, each echoing sentiments of hope and gratitude. This was it, the combined hearts and efforts that formed a tapestry of resilience and courage. The storm had tested them, yes, but ultimately, it had unveiled a narrative of strength that they all needed to witness. As the sun broke through the clouds overhead, illuminating the scene with a golden light, Mark felt the joy of connection lifting him higher. This was the moment he had been searching for, not just for the festival but for life itself. Let us take this forward. The festival, our unity, let us create that legacy together, Mark said, and they erupted into cheers. With that, their laughter mingled with sunlight breaking through the clouds, each heartbeat echoing a promise of tomorrow. They were no longer defined by their past, they were defined by how they chose to move forward together. Mark took a deep breath, feeling lighter than ever. The storm had not only transformed the landscape, but it had washed away the loneliness that had once consumed him. Today was just the beginning. As they began to mull over their plans for the festival once again, Mark's heart swelled with hope. Together, they would craft a lasting legacy, a true transformation for the community he had always loved. They would create a place where laughter conquered fear, where every heart found a home. Let us make history. Mark declared, a radiant smile lighting up his face, and everyone erupted again in encouragement. You did it, Mark. Someone called out, and in that moment, he realized yes, they all did. And with renewed purpose, hand in hand, they began to dream what could truly unfold in a dance of understanding, compassion, and community power. The dawn was breaking, and they were ready to lead the way. Now, more than ever, it was time to believe in each other. And that, he knew, would change everything forever. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support makes a massive difference. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Let us chat about this transformation. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support, and don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.